And now, another edition of Tony Tolato on Sci-Fi Talk.
Hey, this is Katie Sackhoff.
This is who you are. You're on Farscape, and you're listening to Sci-Fi Talk.
Co-creators of
Gotcha. You did it too.
I was like, and what am I promoting?
See, you did it too.
All right. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. This is Mike Doherty.
And this is Steve Fisher.
We're the co-creators of Brown Coats Redemption, and you're listening to Sci-Fi Talk.
Jump on the bandwagon. Everybody else has. Oh, God, another hayride.
Hi, I'm Tim Daly, the voice of Superman, right here on Sci-Fi Talk.
Hello, I'm Dr. Rodney McKay, David Hewlett, if you must.
Hi, this is Don Davis. I'm the composer of The Matrix Reloaded, and The Matrix Revolutions.
Hi, this is John Delancey.
Kind of act to things that aren't there.
Well, you know, sometimes you have that experience anyway with people that are there.
Thanks, God. I'm not that bad.
In part because of the hopeful nature of Gene's vision, but also because of its message of diversity and inclusion.
Great to talk to you again. We talked at the end of last season, and
I remember.
And boy, that was one hell of a finale too. I'll tell you, it really was. Whew, so much.
And, you know, one cliffhanger is never enough. I got to put about 7 in there just to make sure everybody gets enough. You know?
I totally hear you, but I'll tell you, the first few episodes we're still riding that wave. It is really intense.
Thank you. So you've watched 2?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Oh, great.
Directed by Amanda Tapping. I love it. It's great.
Oh my God, Sci-Fi royalty. She's
she's fantastic.
A huge part of the show. She's really wonderful. She's incredible.
As far as mapping out what you're going to do this season, I guess maybe COVID kind of helped in that way. You had a little bit of free time to kind of weave all these different plot threads. And if the first 2 episodes are any indication, there's a lot of threads to weave.
I like, and it's like the tapestry of Motherland in the credits, like those threads are hanging and we had to pick them up. And yeah, it was great to be able to sort of dream during COVID, but then we had to shoot it during COVID, which was incredible. And I have to say, you know, it's such an epic season. I think you're getting a little scope of that just in the opening couple of episodes, but it's so big. And it was really like, can we do this under COVID? And we darn did it. Like, I'm just so proud of us for getting it done. And it would have been a really ambitious, epic season under normal circumstances. So I just can't wait for you to see more.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. One thing I could say without giving a spoiler away, I'm glad we actually got to see and actually learn a little more about the biddies. And, they were kind of a mystery. And it's like, there's some nuggets already, and it's like, oh, wow. Was that already pre-planned, or was that something that you just kind of came up with it during the off-season?
It was always, even when years and years ago, when I tried to do this as a book, I always had the idea of the biddies being a kind of an age battery for Alder, and that, you know, as you get older and older, you need more and more. And she's got about 7 or 8 now. And I'm glad too that we got to go inside what that's really about. And we actually, in episode 1, we get to see the network because Isadora reveals it with a little tuning fork, and it's really intricate and special. And it's one of my favorite pieces of magic in the show because I feel like it's pretty darn original and odd and vampiric in a way, and kind of noble in another way, and complicated. And Alder she is a complicated lady.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no question about it. But she had some nice moments that kind of humanized her a little more and kind of stepped
all
her
of it.
Yeah, I mean, that was really nice. I think people won't be surprised, but kind of like the door or the veil being, lifted a little bit, and you kind of see what's beneath the demeanor a little bit.
It's a great Alder season,
Good.
With this connection that Tally had with Alder, comes this sort of conduit of PTSD from Alder's past.
Yeah.
And so we're going to learn a lot more about, witches through history and Alder's past. And it's just a doorway into the richness of the world, which just kind of keeps on giving.
Yeah, another thread is I forget what it's called. That white thing is
Oh,
going
the
to
mycelium.
That's going to play a big part, and
It's huge. It's a huge part of the season, and we're going to kind of meet the mycelium in a way that we haven't before. We're going to kind of meet the Camarilla in a way we haven't before, because there's actually a guy. We're actually going to put a face on that organization, and it's a wonderful, terrifying face. So, yeah, we get up close and personal to a lot of the big things we kind of teased in season 1. So I think fans are going to like it.
there is enough in the first few episodes that will last the season easily.
We pack it in.
Oh, it's like, it's going to be fine. You know, they're still riding that really good wave that they started last year.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of shows forget this. And for me, the show is about those 3 ladies. And
Totally.
If you get away from that, and I've seen other shows do that, either partner show or trio shows, if you get away from that, you lose the audience. And thank God, right off the bat, they're even closer now than they were last season. It's amazing.
Think about what they've been through already.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with you more. They are the heart and soul of the show, and they're the lens of the show. And as writers, we really try to make sure that the big plot mechanics that you need in a season is really filtered through these emotional lives of these people who our fans are really starting to love. Because then I think it works. But I agree, when you lose that heart, you lose that focus. It's not good sometimes.
We met the president last year. This year we meet the vice president, Victor Webster, who I interviewed years ago for Mutant X. Great actor.
Yep. Yes.
And his daughter, that's going to play an interesting role too. And she's going to get a little help, I think.
She's going to get some help, but that introduces another great season 2 thread, which is this recurring theme of destabilization. We have this young woman who reveals herself to be a witch unintentionally in public, and she happens to be the daughter of a very powerful person. And it is through that storyline that we begin to ask the question, what is a witch and who is a witch, and witch testing becomes a storyline. And yeah, it's another one that we're going to play with this year. Protests. It's amazing.
Yeah, and there's going to be some other kind of testing too with 2 of the ladies and their newfound ability. That's going to be really interesting, and I think the mycelium has a little bit to do with that too. But
you are onto it. You're onto it, man. It's we have not begun to see what this mycelium is really about, and we're going to learn a lot more this year.
For any show to last, you have to have a really deep story. Now, is this all in a Bible that you wrote, or is this?
Yeah, I tried to do this as a book series many years ago, and I chose a very ambitious way to do it in terms of making diary entries for the 3 ladies, and that meant I had to come up with like a prose style that was unique to each of them, and it was a little bit much for me about 10 years ago. I might be able to handle it now, but I did plan out a lot of books, so there is an end game in sight, and there is we will end season 2 with the drums of Civil War sounding pretty hard, and then there's a world war coming. So yeah, it's a long ride if we can make it that far.
I mean, I am just blown away on
You're so nice
by the following that you guys have. I mean, it's just incredible. You've actually reached young men like it too, and the ladies really like it. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and I love that we got some guys interested too. It is a military show, and we are talking about big, real, ugly things too. So I think there's something in here for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, the fandom has just been amazing. I just love alternate histories, so it hooked me right from the beginning. And it's like, hey, what if witches were, part of the real history? How would that change the country? And it's interesting the way they are looked at too. Mm-hmm. It also deals with themes of prejudice, and really prejudice out of ignorance, not really knowing what they're about. And I'm really glad that's one of the big themes of the show. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it kind of has to be, because if you think about it, witches are fairly racialized, right? They are, if you are a daughter of a daughter of a daughter, you can script, and that's your life, and your kids can script, and that really defines them in this very kind of harsh racial way. So I think it has to be about that. But our season's going to go into that too when we start to have these testing centers and we start to have young women finding out that they're witches and had no clue, you know?
Wow. Yeah,
so we're getting into that complicated mess, which is really fun for a writer to play around with.
Yeah, you've created a nice little playground for yourself. I'll tell you, it's rich. It's very rich, and it's really unusual for a series to reach this point in the second season. This is like a fourth or fifth season thing, but the books, they just really, really helped you. And
they helped me have the long view. Absolutely.
Yeah. And characterization too. It really, you knew who these characters were. So when the casting came around, you knew exactly who they were and who
we got so
plug in.
lucky with that, though.
Oh,
They are like archetypally their characters. It's almost like uncanny. It's a little spooky, like how truly Tally Jessica is.
Yes.
And Ashley and Taylor, like it really worked. That casting really worked.
We're not giving anything away. I do like Demetria's apparent storyline this year.
It's incredible. We get to see more of her. Yeah. We love her so much, and she's so kick-ass this season. And when she let Scylla go last year, that was not a flight of fancy. There was a plan. And
and we'll see a little bit of that.
Into that. Yeah.
Won't give anything away. It's been a pleasure, Eliot, and best of luck. And
my pleasure.
And if I'm kind of stepping away from my middle of the road journalistic thing, is because I'm passionate about shows that I really like. And I also appreciate, after doing this a while, the effort that goes into making a show like this.
Well, thank you.
And I mean, the writing, it starts with that, and then everything else follows. And you got it. I mean, if you could bottle this, you'd make a fortune, but you can't.
That's the idea.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's
all right. You take care.
Take care.
Hi, I'm Amanda Tapping from Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Sanctuary. You're listening to Sci-Fi Talk with Tony Collado. Enjoy.